Back to your quarterback approach, which is the same as mine. And I'll say it this way: it is or would be inexcusable if they would play one quarterback. Let's say Cade McNamara wins this job. If he plays every play, even deep into the game, in a 40-7 win over Illinois State, then I don't know what they're doing. And I don't anticipate that. They have two quarterbacks who are extremely comparable in terms of their experience and their success. Take away the team success that Cade McNamara enjoyed. In terms of their success statistically and their level of play, they're two extremely comparable quarterbacks. And we're sitting here on August 20th, and we don't have a starter, which shows us that they are still weighing this decision, especially since Cade McNamara was the starter last season and into the offseason. So both of these guys need to play, regardless of what they show the last 10 days of camp. They need to show what they can do with the Iowa offense against an opponent.
But what if Cade comes out on the 31st and looks really good? Like if he's, 15 of 20 and he throws for 200 yards and they just run the ball all over the place. I could see Kirk just, he likes what he's seeing. So why tweak what's not broken, right? I could see him doing that. I agree with you, for the record. I agree with you. I don't see any reason why there's no downside to it. But ultimately, that will still ultimately be Kirk's call. If Kirk says to Tim Lester, we're going with Cade, Brennan won't play. So it's a matter of, again, me reading into, and the brief conversation, the question I asked of Kirk at Iowa Media Day. And he has doubled down on that stance that he thinks, even with a healthy and effective Cade McNamara, that Sullivan has a unique skill set. And then you add on the top what you just said, that this has been a very close competition. Yeah, why wouldn't you play both guys? I agree with you. But I could also see in a game situation, Kirk just riding with the guy that he's long preferred anyways, who's in a groove maybe for the first time since his injury.
I can think of two general approaches I would have. Either we go into the season and it's still a dead heat, if it is now, assuming it is now, and then I would just play them. I wouldn't necessarily alternate every series. I'd want them to get into a groove, but let's say every other quarter. Or let's say in your situation, Cade McNamara is pretty much the clear starter coming out of camp. I still would, Brennan Sullivan, he would play third series. He'd play like 25 or 30% of meaningful snaps while the game's still on the line, not when it's 40-7.
Can I tell you what I would do? And maybe this, again, all questions for Coach Patterson, but here's what I would do. I would not approach this like Michigan approached JJ and Cade. I would not necessarily approach it the way you just outlined. Not that it's a bad way. Not that I would, going, maybe you go every other drive. The problem is, if somebody gets going, is it smart to pull that guy? I don't know that that's the case. But here's the deal. Here's what I would do, Mark. I would with Tim Lester in place, with what Kirk has talked about regarding Sullivan's skill set and what we've seen, what we've heard, with his legs, his ability to run. I would have plays, specific plays. Like, pick a guy, first of all, that you're going to run first with. Whether that's Cade or Sullivan, I don't really care. I don't really think it matters. I know that sounds bad. I don't really think it matters all that much. I know some people want to make you think otherwise. It all starts with the quarterback. Well, yeah, it does. But if the team knows both guys are going to play, if they have confidence in both guys, pick a guy to start, and then have plays ready, situational plays ready to go for Brennan Sullivan and maybe for Marco Lainez. And then if Brennan comes in for those situational plays and looks good, then you feel out the game, right? You feel it out play by play, series by series, drive by drive. And I think you let the rhythm of the game come to you and you decide within. I don't think you need to have everything pre-scripted. And I think Tim Lester is competent enough as a former quarterback and a play caller to make those calls. Now, would I have trusted Brian Ferentz to do that? But I think that's how you approach it, is from a rhythmic standpoint. Your thoughts?
My thought is that maybe my plan is not right for this particular team and this particular program, because their offense has been so damn bad that if you do have a flow, if you do start to score some points, I was just at some point, something you were saying was triggering in my mind the mentality, maybe the subconscious mentality of these players on offense who are used to going out there 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Okay, couple first downs, then the drive stalled, and just playing like that all the time. They're not used to having success. So, yeah, do you want to break that up? If Cade McNamara leads them to 2 touchdown drives and a field goal drive in the first 3 drives, do you want to break that up? Maybe not. If it was another team, another mindset, another experience of offensive players, and needing to find out the optimum situation at quarterback, then maybe you go with my plan. But I do understand that that may not be the best because of what these players have experienced in the past.
And I project part of the equation will be, does somebody turn the ball over? Because although Kirk has sort of forgiven guys like Deacon Hill, Spencer Petras, when those guys got into these turnover-ridden games, it's clear Kirk has a different level of confidence with number 2 this year that he has not had in years, right? So I do think that we're going to see a greater emphasis placed on who can protect the football. Not that that's the end-all, be-all, but if, on the flip side of that, if Cade comes in and throws an ugly pick like he threw during Kids Day to Quinn Schulte, I could see just, nope, get him out. And that's fine. Like, that's fine with me. I don't want a guy looking over their shoulder. But if you have egregious decisions being made by a guy who hasn't played much in 2 years, then, we got to figure out a way to get him settled down. But we're not going to sacrifice the lead or, a game, certainly, to try to make that happen now. We got to go with the better guy. So it's a luxury to have 2 guys. Whether you think that you have 2 really good quarterbacks, they've got 2 guys who have proven to be capable. There are questions surrounding Cade's health. There's, I guess, questions surrounding Sullivan's ability in the system. Kirk was asked about Tim Lester, or about the quarterback competition, and he did bring up the fact that Brendan is still working his way into the system, so he's kind of behind from that perspective. But I really do think with a guy like Tim Lester, he'll be able to be up to speed by the time we hit August 31st, if he's not already. That's why there's reason to be a little bit frustrated by the fact that we continue to see snaps and photos of Cade consistently with the 1s and Brendan consistently with the 2s. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. But what is this? Can we go to the
Hang
chat?
on just a second. Before you get to your comment in the chat, our buddy Ferris Khan, so he's on the Michigan channel with us, producing content over there. So check it out. Smash the numbers. Ferris making a statement here that Cade won a Big Ten championship. It should be Cade. I don't agree with that. You make an evaluation in 2024, not in 2021. That was a long time ago. And that was a different football team, different strengths, different talent, different situation. And he may not be the same player today than he was 3 years ago.
Yeah. And frankly, would you rather right now build an NFL? Would you rather right now, tomorrow, go out on the field as an NFL team with Caleb Williams or with Brett Favre? I mean, I know it's not the same analogy, but yeah, past success, there has to be some context put to that. And Cade is a different guy than he was 3 years ago. There's nobody going to be debating that. All I know is this. I have heard Tim make statements like, when I talked to him at Media Day, he said, go back and watch that interview. Go back and watch that interview, because I had reported here a few days prior to that Jacob Gill had gone off for several touchdowns on a Saturday against Jamari Harris. And then that day I talked with Tim Lester. Go back and listen to the interview. He made the statement. He said, we had a pretty good one-on-one day today. And the way he said that made me think, okay, things were clicking today. And so is it maybe the case that, maybe more often than not, the offense hasn't looked great because of what it's going up against, but they have still been flashing. And if they're flashing against the Iowa defense, how much more so will they flash against defenses across the schedule? There's lots of ways you can look at it, and, not to pee in your own pudding before the season even starts.
Can't say that I've ever heard that phrase before. Pee in your own pudding.
Well,
did you make that up? Or did that come from somewhere?
Is that not a thing? Is that not a
Not that
expression?
I know. I've been around a while. I've never come across that one.
You know what Kelvin Bell said to me that I had never heard? You probably heard it before, but he said something about the biscuit hitting the grease. Is that a common expression?
I think I've heard it at some point. I don't think it's common.
I cracked up when he said that, and he didn't act like it was he wasn't trying to be funny. He was just saying that. I just thought that was funny during my chat with him.
And again, let me clarify, because some people misconstrue when I make a statement like I just made. I'm not saying that Brendan Sullivan should be the starter and that Cade McNamara should not be the starter. I'm saying that Cade McNamara should not be the starter based on what he did in 2021. Here's a few other things that hit me, Corey, about some things that Tim Lester said. He was talking up the offense, guys working hard, guys figuring things out, doing the right things, et cetera, finding consistency. However, he said, we still need to find explosive plays. He made that statement. He also said that Cade, up until that particular week, he used the word skittish, and that he's finally calmed down. And then he said, Brendan Sullivan, is a natural in the pocket. That sounds like a big compliment. He's a natural in the pocket, meaning he knows how to navigate the pocket. He knows when to step up, he knows when to slide.
He does.
He knows when the ball needs to come out.
Yeah, he does. I mean, we've watched him at Northwestern. You were impressed with him at Northwestern. His numbers, he was pretty good. Yeah. So, no, I agree. And Mark, I think the skittish thing is assuming that Tim was referring back to just the nervousness you have when you come off of a serious injury, especially a serious knee injury. 2 serious knee injuries, you're going to be a little bit skittish to getting hit. And, sometimes I think when you see the erratic type of throws that he made during Kids Day, you wonder, okay, it's more up here than maybe the physical. So that's good news if he's calmed down and he's settled in. And like I said, before Kids Day, I had somebody close to the program tell me, hey, right now, Sullivan's the better guy. And, it's close, but we think Sullivan's a better guy. And I had the same person reach out to me here a couple of days ago and said, hey, Sullivan's still the better guy, but expect Cade to start game 1. We'll see. I mean, things can change, but that's the perception from even people on the inside that, yeah, we kind of feel like Sullivan's more ready, but we still think that Cade's going to get the nod.
And then listen to this one, Corey. I'm slightly reading into this, but I don't think I'm making a big stretch here. When Tim Lester says that he takes a lot from the ones and the ones playing against each other, the twos playing the twos. But when you take the ones against the twos, he said, you expect the quarterback to drive the ball down the field against the twos when he's got the ones. But he loves to see, more than anything, the quarterback who can take the twos and drive them down the field against the ones. Now, he didn't differentiate quarterbacks or anything, but if Sullivan is getting more reps with the twos.
When did he ever imply, though, that they're doing that whoever is running with the twos is taking the team down the field against the ones? Because I have a hard time imagining that happening.
I understand that, but why would he say that if it...
I don't know. Who was I listening to? Was it Matt Rule? Somebody I listened to, I believe it was yesterday, was asked about the whole ones versus twos. Man, who was that? I think I found the interview on Twitter. But the question was posed similar to the questions we ask as to why Tim Lester or why this offense is running so much with Brendan and with the twos, Cade with the ones. And whoever it was that I was listening to, this coach basically said, yeah, it's difficult. Was it Kelvin Bell or Liddell Betts? Anyways, it's difficult to evaluate to an extent. However, even when you have like twos versus the twos, you got to realize, yeah, you're going up against the twos, but you're also working with quote unquote inferior talent around you as a quarterback. So that has to be taken into account. I'm not saying it's apples to apples. I still think the best way to go about it is equal snaps against the same equal competition. But if Brendan Sullivan's outperforming twos against twos, that's still something, because you still have to be able to make do with like Iowa's backup defensive backs, backup linebackers, backup defensive linemen. They're better than Iowa's backup receivers, backup offensive linemen, I would guess, and maybe the tight ends, running backs. You get what I'm saying? Like that's still It's a different challenge, and it's hard to go. I'm sure it's hard for Cade to. Wouldn't it be hard for any quarterback to go up against the Iowa defense every day? I mean, like at some point, don't expect Iowa's offense. I don't think if Tom Herman were here running this offense, that these guys would be running up and down the field against this defense. Phil Parker is maybe the best coordinator in college football. And these are the same guys that were brought in under Brian Ferentz's regime. So Tim's going to get everything he can out of them. But you may not see the effects of that, positive results, until they go up against not Iowa's defense.
College football is even more exciting with some action on the line. And the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Let's start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread. I've got a 40-year track record. In fact, in 2023, at $100 played per game, you would have netted over $9,300. And guess what? I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill, our ace in the hole, show stopper from Wager Talk. 6 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick, which went 21-5 against the spread the last 2 seasons. I repeat, 21-5 against the spread. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Steve Dace and Matt Zemek. Become a YouTube channel member or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2024 a winner now.